Joining me now, House Majority Whip James Clyburn, Congressman of South Carolina. Whip Clyburn, thank you, as always, for coming to the Sunday Show.
Thank you very much for having me back.
So, does the president have a messaging problem, or does he have a leadership problem, do you think?
Well, you know, I've said for a long, long time, it's not our message, but it's more that we have a problem with labeling. We have done a lot of things. The problem is we focus too much on the half-empty glass rather than the half-full glass. I think that we have a legislative process that we do not do enough of bringing people along. Look at what we have done with the American Rescue Act, with the bipartisan infrastructure bill, with the omnibus bill that we have passed, the appropriations bill. And we are still working with the Senate to try to get the rest of his agenda done. But we keep talking about that part of the agenda that has not gotten done, rather than to share with the American people all of the great things that we have done. And then I look around and I see people out in their districts putting up these big overblown checks saying, here's what I have brought. Well, Joe Biden and the Democrats did that. We did it with a minimum. With the bipartisan bill, we got 13 Republican votes in the House, and we got none on the Rescue Act. So this is the kind of thing we have got to get our message right. So I think that we got a good message. We just have a problem with style.
And Whip Clyburn, I understand that. And yet, inflation is high. Gas prices are high. Food prices are high. People are feeling all of these things despite the glass half full that you're talking about. So can the president avoid the here and now frustrations and anger of the American people despite all the good things that have come out of this administration?
No, you can't avoid it. The fact of the matter is, when you start to stimulate the economy, you have to strike a balance. You cannot stimulate the economy without running the risk of inflating things. That's just the way economics work. If we are pumping money into the society so that people can go back to work, people can sustain themselves when they are out of work. We had a great pandemic that sidelined people, closed up restaurants, closed down businesses. So we had to pump money into the economy, and that will always run the risk of inflating things. That's just the way it works. What we have to do is get people to understand that it is important for us to do things for people who have nothing to inflate. And so the people who do have stuff that can be inflated, we have to bring them along and get them to know that all of us are in this together. And so let's look out for each other, and let's try to make this country a more perfect union.
So, Whip Clyburn, I want to come back to, I love the analogy, the glass half full, glass half empty, because there seems to be a bit of a disconnect in the way that Black Americans are viewing things and the overall Americans are viewing things. In the latest Washington Post poll, 60% of Black voters believe that President Biden has kept his campaign promises. But meanwhile, only 40% of Americans overall believe that the president has kept his campaign promises. Why do you think that is?
Well, that's once again because we are not getting enough emphasis on the things that we have accomplished. It just so happens that when you run for president, you lay out a 4-year plan. But people expect, in many instances, for all 4 years to be accomplished in one.
Right.
He's had a year and a half in office. We are trying to get things done in an orderly fashion, trying to do it in such a way that you don't overcharge the economy in such a way that we have runaway inflation. These are the risks that you run. This president knows this risk, but he also knows that he cannot afford to preside over a country where too many people are out of work and under-evaluated.
Whip Clyburn, one more question, and just give me a yes or no. You are politically brilliant. Can the president turn things around? before the midterm elections? Yes or no, where we are right now?
Yes, he can and he will.
And with that, we'll leave it there. Congressman James Clyburn of the great state of South Carolina. Whip Clyburn, thank you very much, as always, for coming to the Sunday Show.
Thank you very much for having me. All
right, joining me now is senior advisor to President Obama. What a slip. President Biden, Gene Sperling. Gene, thank you very much for coming to the Sunday Show. Quite the Freudian slip there. But as an advisor, and
I was an advisor. I was an advisor to President Obama, too, so it's not a slip.
Right.
Proud to have worked for both men.
Right. And you focus on the economy.
And President Clinton.
Right. And you focus on the economy, if memory serves, for President Obama. So for President Biden, picking up on what Whip Clyburn was just talking about, Democrats are focusing on too much on the glass half empty. Do you think that it's possible for the president and the administration to get its message out about the glass half full part while also acknowledging the pain that's being caused by inflation and rising gas prices?
You know, Jonathan, you absolutely have to recognize both realities. Inflation is clearly global. The recent report by the OECD, which is the 38 major countries, showed the average inflation across those countries is 9.2%. So this is clearly a global phenomenon caused by a unprecedented shutting down and starting up of the economy, an unthinkable war of aggression in Ukraine. And yet, all that said, the fact that it's global is little comfort to an American family going through the grocery line or going up to the gas pump. Many of them have new jobs. Many of them have raises, but they still don't want to give back any of that. But I do think that, yes, we have to understand the fundamental strengths that have come out of the American Rescue Plan. And let's just look at the jobs report that came out Friday. I mean, this should be reassuring for a few reasons. Number one, I think one of the things people have strongly reported and underestimated about the American Rescue Plan is the degree that it has given this recovery resilience. You know, I had a lot of reporters calling me when Omicron hit, when Delta hit, when the Russian invasion happened, and said, is this going to derail the recovery? The fact that you've had a strong American Rescue Plan has led both to historic job creation, the most equitable recovery I've seen. You've seen Black and Hispanic unemployment basically return to pre-crisis levels when it took 6 years after the Great Recession. So you're seeing the strong, equitable growth, but you're also seeing resilience. This economy is powered through. And we also saw what the Washington Post called yesterday the great return to work. Not only has it led to record job creation, but we've seen 4.2 million Americans come back to work. Those 25 to 54 are working at the same percentage that they did before the pandemic, which is a tremendous, really tremendous accomplishment. And just the final thing I'd say is that families are looking. You're right. You know, families. I've been in politics for a long time, and presidential approval is affected by gas prices, whether it's the president's fault or not, and inflation. We understand. We understand that, but the fact is that when you look at typical families, their checking accounts are up, they have less household, debt service, and I think all of this gives us more confidence that we are well positioned to make this transition to a more stable growth, even with the tough medicine that we know the Federal Reserve is going to have to take.